For the last 10 years or so, magicians around the world have been asking me the same question. When will the Conover book be done? Are you still working on the Conover book? Hey Mead, what about that dang Conover book? I am so happy to announce that today I have a new and much more satisfying answer. It's ready. Ask anyone who saw Tim Conover perform, and they will tell you he was one of the greatest magicians of his generation. Some would say of any generation. Part of the reason is that there were two distinct sides to Tim's work. He was a virtuoso sleight of hand artist and relentless in his pursuit of the best and strongest close-up effects. But most of the paying public knew Tim as an electrifying, high-energy mentalist. He performed on huge stages in the corporate arena, and his mind-reading act was a guaranteed showstopper, best in class. I have spent more hours than anyone could imagine researching, reconstructing, performing, and writing about Tim's full professional repertoire. And the result is not a book. It's 3 big, beautiful volumes of the most spectacular magic and mentalism. Volume 1 is all about his close-up magic. You'll learn what is hands down the best production of a shot glass full of liquid ever. An effect that can be done strolling, in formal close-up conditions, or even on the platform and stage. Tim's definitive version of the easy money effect, changing a stack of $1 bills into hundreds, is unique because the bills change progressively from 1s to 5s to 10s to 20s to 50s and finally to hundreds. I think it is the most magical version of this ubiquitous effect and was one of the most coveted pieces of his repertoire. Effects with cards, coins, salt shakers, and a toy mouse. Also included is Tim's masterpiece, the bending coins. This effect fooled the greatest magicians in the world, as a handful of solid silver dollars bend, warp, and melt as if they are made of taffy. I not only explain this stunning piece of magic, but all of the intricate and ingenious detailed thinking that is really the hallmark of Tim's work. Volume 2 is all about mentalism. If reading minds is your passion or profession, you'll love Tim's extraordinary work on classics like the Quran medallion, duplication of drawings, a stage version of spoon bending using borrowed spoons, and the most bulletproof and disarming center tear ever created. His version of the newspaper prediction is legendary among magicians, not only because the procedure is impossibly clean and fair, but the climax is so deeply fooling. For Volume 3, I get to let Tim speak for himself. At the time of his death, he was nearly finished with a book exploring his favorite effect, John Ramsey's cylinder and coins. So, with photos of his own hands, and described and explained in his own words, Tim details 6 distinct versions of this classic plot. From a version very close to Ramsey's original, to his killer version using Down's palm, to the one Tim called his dream version that I performed on Penn and Teller, Fool Us, and 3 other amazing variations, each with their own strengths and teaching different lessons. This book is a veritable masterclass in how to study, analyze, construct, and perfect a piece of magic. And it's a perfect illustration of Tim's obsessive search for better, stronger, more effective magic. We focused on Tim's professional repertoire and included all of the material he used to make his living. Everything is here, and every single effect has been forged in the crucible of repeated, real-world performance. This is top-shelf professional caliber material used by one of the most successful corporate and private entertainers of the last 40 years. And all of it holds up today. This is the kind of book I dreamed of as a young magician, material I could be confident would devastate and entertain audiences in real-world situations. Plus, the books are gorgeous and come in a beautiful slipcase with treated paper, cloth binding, and more than 1,000 photographs. The production quality of this project is uncompromising and top of the line. Finally, if you are a collector or a Conover superfan and really excited for this project, I am delighted to share that there will be a deluxe edition in limited quantities. These books are covered in leatherette and made of the finest upgraded materials. Each deluxe set is numbered and signed, and we're also including an additional volume of unique ephemera from the Tim Conover estate. Vintage advertising material tipped into each set, excerpts from his personal notebooks, scripts he wrote for specific trade show appearances, and more. I've been working with this material for a while now, sharing it with my audiences, and I can assure you from firsthand experience that all of it is absolutely polished, bulletproof, and stellar. As fun as it has been to shepherd this work and have it to myself, I always understood that it wasn't mine. Tim's extraordinary work belongs to all of us, and it is my sincere pleasure to hand it over to my brothers and sisters in magic. Nothing would have made Tim happier than to know that his magic was still inspiring magicians and entertaining audiences all around the world.
Hello and welcome to the celebration of these new books, Conover. I am delighted to be here with Andi Gladwin and author Eric Mead, and this is going to be a celebration of what these books are, where they came from. You're going to see some performances, you're going to see some added interviews with valued friends that Tim Conover had, that Eric has now, and so let's get started.
Yeah, you've just seen the trailer that's told you so much about the book, but what we didn't dig into really in the trailer is Tim Conover himself. So, Eric, I'd love you to talk about Tim, your friendship with him, but also, only a few of us got to see him perform. He didn't perform for magicians all that much. So would you tell us a bit about how he was as a performer?
Sure. Tim was a great close friend of mine and one of the best magicians I ever saw and ever knew. And most people who saw him would tell you the same. Sort of during his heyday in the 80s and 90s, he was just a working trade show and after dinner corporate magician who did two things. He did close-up magic for smaller audiences and trade shows, and on stage he did a super high-powered mentalism act. He was relentless on methods, as you will read in the books if you pick them up, and one of the most important sort of magicians of his time, I think, which is why we worked on these books.
It's amazing, and work you did. I am interested in asking you about the process of how these books, the idea came for them, how you got consent from the family, and how long it took you.
Right. I didn't actually get consent from the family. The family drove this project from the beginning.
It's a relief. I was going to have to rethink a few things.
What's that?
We thought you were saying, like, we didn't get permission, we just published it anyway.
They drove the project. I understand.
Unauthorized.
I understand. No.
Fine.
I have full consent from the family.
Okay.
They asked me to do it. When Tim died in 2011, his sister contacted me. She had found me through some of Tim's notes and some of his correspondence. And she asked me about his magic and about what they should do. And I said, what you want to do is keep everything together and hang on to it, because someday when you're past the grief of Tim's death, you might want to do some kind of legacy project. And it'll be important to have all of his material and all of his stuff together. And so not long after that, I became friends with Sherry, my partner on this project, and Tim's brother Mike. And they asked me to do this project not long, like maybe a few months after he died. And at first I declined, of course, because it's way too big of a project for me. I'm not a full-time writer, and I knew I didn't have the time to do it. So I suggested a couple of other people who could, I thought, do a good job writing it. And she went to them and asked them, and they all seemed to say, yeah, I could do it, but I would need Eric Mead's help. And so she kind of eventually came to me and said, do you want to be the helper of someone else writing it, or do you just want to write it? And so we made a deal about how much time it might take and how difficult it would be and how I wouldn't be on a deadline, which is a good thing because, as you know, it took me over 10 years to write these books. And that's how it came about and where the family's, blessing came from.
Well, today is a special day because not only did the books launch, but you stopped getting emails from people saying, hey, when are the Conover books coming out?
That is definitely a plus for today, yes.
And Tim went through different phases in his life of, like, sometimes he didn't want to publish this material, but later in life he really wanted this to be in a book, right?
Yes. Well, there have been some people who suggested that maybe Tim wouldn't have wanted these to come out. That is true. But I know that he did because, first of all, he personally wrote Volume 3, the Cylinder and Coins book, and these are pictures of Tim's hands doing all this, taken by Tim's brother. So he was not only planning this book, he made this book. The other two books, he left in his notes tables of contents for a book about magic and a book about mentalism that he was planning to write himself, and I believe would have written had he not tragically died in 2011.
So what I think is interesting for people watching is to sort of know 10,000 feet zoomed out, what are these books? What are you getting with these books?
That's a great question, and let me think for just a second about the best way to answer it. The main thing you're getting with these books is we have concentrated on all of Tim's professional repertoire. So if there was a trick that Tim did professionally a lot for audiences, it is in these books, all of it. What's not in the books is some things that he worked on for himself or for other people. But everything he did for money in his career is here. So there is Close-Up Magic, which was, 14 routines, 220 pages, 379 photographs. I can do that by the numbers thing. All of the mentalism is 11 routines, all for stage mentalism. And the main thing about this, I think what you're getting at is this is all material that was done by a full-time, successful professional over and over and over again, hundreds and hundreds of times for real paying lay audiences. This is like, someone's life work, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. You are going to share a couple of these things with our guests today.
I am, yes.
And I think we should maybe have you do that now.
Okay. This was Tim Conover's favorite trick. Volume 3 in the set of books is 6 distinct versions of this. This is the one he called the Dream version, and this is the one that I performed and won a trophy on Penn and Teller Fool Us. I have some unusual props, which I'll tell you about in a second, a little leather tube and a little piece of cork. But for us today, the important props are these 4 silver dollars and this little stage. It's like a little platformer stage. It's actually a drink coaster that you would set a drink on, but for our purposes today, it's a little elevated spot where all of the interesting magic is going to happen. Okay? I take the little cork and I set it on the stage. Actually, I should tell you, this is a sliver that's been cut off of the end of a wine cork, like go down in a wine bottle, just a piece of that cut off. And it's going to act like a marker. It's hidden inside the little tube, which is a leather strap that had its ends stitched together. You can look at that if you'd like to. Yay, yay, yay. Okay. Important thing about the tube is it has no top and no bottom, which means anything dropped inside of it will pass right through. That's going to be important in a moment, as you'll see. So the cork goes there, and it's hidden inside the little tube like this. And this would be a good time to pay attention, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4 silver dollars. And one by one, I'm going to make these coins disappear, each one in a different way. So I take the wand, I go through my hand like this, and out the other side. And that first coin disappears. And even though you're staring right at it, it appears down inside that little tube that has no top and no bottom. Right? It leaves 3 coins behind. That's number 1, that's number 2, and the third one I just touch with the tip of the wand like this, and it disappears from your sight down inside the little tube. Now sometimes when people see that, they'll grab hold of me and they'll try to see if there's like a slit or some sort of a pocket in my skin. There's not. But if I take one of the coins and I make like an artificial incision right there, I can push that coin right down and it goes inside my hand. Or if I push it down like this and then touch it with the wand, yeah, it instantly disappears. That leaves the final, one last coin. And this one, well, because it's the last one, let me do it long distance like this, right? From the tip of the wand there, it goes all the way across the table like this, down inside, and disappears. And just so that you lose sleep tonight, I couldn't have dropped them inside. They are now underneath that little piece of cork. Clap, clap, clap. It's weird to perform without an audience. I'll do the whole thing again, okay? Only this time in reverse. The little piece of cork goes in my hand, and the coins go inside the little tube. The coin, what did I say? The coins are in the tube, right? Can you see them there? I'll give you a peek. And the little piece of cork is here in my hand. And you see those coins until the last possible second. And the instant they get covered up, we can travel now back in time like this to where one of those coins is out here at my fingertips. That's coin number 1. Don't blink, you'll miss them, because here they come. That's number 2. That's number 3. 3 coins from nowhere. Oh, but remember, there were in fact 4 coins when we started this. And then that little piece of cork, which I squeeze like that, and it completely disappears from my hands. and goes back over there where it started, inside the little tube that has no top and no bottom. And that's the magic trick that Tim called the trick that left them guessing. Welcome back. I have one of my proofreading team, Jason England, here. You're one of the few people in the world, Jason, who has already had a chance to read these books. And you read them probably more than a year ago now.
Yep.
Tell us what you think of this project, having actually dug through it all and read it probably multiple times.
So, couple things. First of all, I can't tell you how excited I was to, open those files that you sent. Every couple of weeks I'd get a file or 2 files or 3 files, and they were always like, clear my schedule, clear my plate. I got to grab maybe a prop or 2. Sometimes props I didn't have, but I got to get these because I'm not only reading them, but I'm trying my best to work through everything. And so I proofread the books, but for anyone that's ever done that job, you know that that's not like curl up and read.
Right.
It's more a process of examination. And so in many cases, I had to prevent myself from getting lost in the prose the way you want to.
Yes.
Because every time I see left hand, I've got to go, okay, well, is that really the left? Yep, it is the left hand. Okay, perfect. Every time I saw, the coin should be, you should do this to the coin. I got to make sure, okay, is that the proper coin? Okay, it is the proper coin. So proofreading is an examination process, and you're constantly rewinding your brain and starting over and checking and double checking and triple checking. So in a sense, I'm looking forward to reading the books.
I had never thought of that. That's really interesting.
I'm looking forward to not having to worry about rewinding my brain and triple checking everything. But obviously, I worked through all the material best that I could for you, and I did read them. But I always had that sort of part of my brain that was examining the books, not enjoying the books. And so I'm really looking forward to losing myself in these books and learning some of these routines the way that consumers will.
Yes.
So I cannot tell you how excited I am.
You never knew Tim. Did you meet Tim ever?
I met him on a couple of occasions and even spent 2 hours, 3 hours with him one night on the floor of the Orleans Hotel.
This is a consistent story with lots of people. Paul Gertner has the story. Jamie Swiss has the story. Mark Phillips has the story of Tim on the floor somewhere in a hotel or an airport doing whatever he's interested in at the moment.
Well, for me, it was on the floor of the Orleans. Might have been 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
At one of the times where he came to a magic convention here in town. And I remember his kindness to share stuff with me. He had no idea who I was. I had to introduce myself. I remember his kindness in sharing the stuff that he was sharing with us. I remember his enthusiasm,
infectious.
It might have been midnight and we were still all kind of hanging out there, and he had a small crowd of people around him. So his enthusiasm, his willingness to talk and share, and his, obviously his passion came through, and the level of thinking, because I don't remember the exact details about what we were talking about now, all these years later, but I remember at the time going, so that's what people see in this guy, is all of that. Right. And so I'm excited for, the buyers of this book that maybe met Tim in passing, like I did.
Or didn't know him.
Or didn't know him at all, never met him at all. I'm excited for them, because I believe that when someone does a good job with a book on someone else's life, like you've done, you can approach understanding that person.
Yes.
I never met Ed Marlowe, but I've read 25,000 pages of Ed Marlowe stuff. I feel like I knew the guy to some degree. Right. I mean, you feel like you understand what he would have been about. I never met Vernon, but through being able to watch him on video a little bit, but mostly through his writings, I feel like, okay, I get it. I know what this guy was passionate about, and and his attention to detail, and I feel like I know Tim better now, several hundred pages later.
Yes.
And so even though I did get to meet him, I'm really excited for the people never got to meet him, or like I said, met him in passing and didn't get to experience him.
Right.
Because they get to do that through these books. Fantastic job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No one is happier than me to see these books come out.
I bet.
But you are a real book collector and a real reader of magic literature. How do you feel about these books coming out? And where do you see them sort of in the context of magic literature?
So a concept I've used before in writings is the books of the decade.
Books of the decade.
Books of the decade. And that's not necessarily like 90 to 2000, 2000 to 2010, but like in the last 10 years, what was the book or the set of books that you had to have? I think we can put Johnny Thompson's books in that category.
Sure.
Caveney's Wonders are in that category.
Sure.
Those are about 10 years ago now. The Tommy Wonder books in the 90s and the Vernon Chronicles in the 80s into 90s. I think these are the books for this time period that if you don't buy them, you will regret it. At some point, you're going to say, I should have got that set when I had the chance, because they are the books of the decade. As far as I'm concerned, I have a hard time believing that anything's going to come out and to supplant these for this sort of little 10-year period that we're kind of in the middle of right now.
Amazing.
So yeah, if you have any interest in the plots in this book,
right.
If you want to learn about this trick or that trick or cylinder and coins or anything, I don't know if these will be the definitive method going forward. The way Vernon's Cups and Balls is, or Symphony of the Rings is, but they will absolutely be in the conversation. So if you look at the table of contents and you go, that interests me, that interests me, that interests me, that interests me, you're out of your mind not to get these books.
Fair enough.
You're out of your mind.
Now, you're not a mentalist. Did you enjoy reading the mentalism plots and methods?
Absolutely. I've always liked reading mentalism. You'd be surprised if you looked at my bookshelf. I have an original Corinda on the shelf, the individual volumes. I've got all the, I've got the top 10 classic mentalism texts. I love reading about it. And if I had more time, I would probably dive into that world a little bit more. Sure. But cards take up all my time these days. So, but yeah, I loved reading it. I love reading about things that I'll never do. I'll never do Tommy Wonder's The Ring, the Watch, and the Wallet. Never do it in a million years. But I love reading it, and there's so many terrific lessons in there. Sure. And those lessons are in your book and in the section that Tim wrote himself, the cylinder and coin section. Right. They're in there. And if you can sometimes extract a lesson from a trick you'll never do and put it into a trick that you've been doing for 20 years. So yeah, you did a terrific job, and I can't wait for these guys to be able to dive in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So now, Jason, we have a little surprise. We're going to show maybe my favorite clip of Tim in performance. This is the Crystal Ball Gallery Readings.
Everybody just think of a secret thought or an idea. Right there, all the way right back here, somebody's thinking of their birthday. They're curious if I can tell them what that is. Who is that? Right, gentlemen? Yes, please stand. Please stand. Visualize it in your mind. Try not to react out loud. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Don't say anything out loud. I'm going to trust my... Right there, August jumped out at me. What month were you born? Tremendous. Is it okay to try for the day? Visualize it in your mind, whether it's a single-digit day or a double digit. 2 digits involved. Visualize either the first or the last. Think of one of them in your mind. Right there, 8. You just thought 8. Is that true? Perfect. So it's either the 18th or the 28th, but you were born on August the 18th. Am I on the nose? Exactly, and I thank you very much for your help. Oh, he wants to try for the year. Please stand, please stand. Visualize it in your mind. The 40s, the 50s, the 60s, oops, I've gone too far. Oh, I see, not very far out. Right there, 1959. Am I on the nose? Exactly, and I thank you very much for your help. Now, you were not born in the United States, and you were not born in Canada. Is that true? Okay, I'm picturing an L-O-N-D-O-N. London, England comes to mind. Where were you born? London. Exactly, and I thank you very much for your help. You can all do this, though. I'll show you how. You can do this yourself. Here, there's a perfect one. Somebody right over here is curious if I can tell them the first person they ever kissed. Who is that? Oh, help me out. Please stand. There's always a couple in the group. I appreciate you admitting it out loud. And just visualize the name. Spell their name in your mind, a letter from A to Z. Right here at Newbridge Networks, delivering solutions no matter how unusual they are. Right there. Right here, I see a J. J-O-H-N, name John. What was his name? Yeah, exactly, and I thank you for your help. Here, you can do this yourself. Let's get somebody I haven't met before. Have we ever met before? We set nothing up in advance. Matthew, please stand. I was watching his name badge. Here, do me a favor. Would you help me out? Please stand for a second. Pull some bills out of your pocket at random. And Matthew, I'm going to walk away, but fan them out in front of his eyes. And Matthew, reach in and just take any one of the bills that jumps out at you. And I'm going to get somebody to help me out. Would you help me out? Please stand. Please stand. Here, do me a favor. Slide around here for just a second. Okay? Hold it up a little higher and look right into the ball and imagine a denomination of a bill. It could be a 1, a 5, a 10, a 20, a 50, a $100 bill. Name a denomination as you're gazing into the ball. Oh, wait, before you do, let me just empower you. Perfect. Now you're all set. Look into the ball and imagine a denomination. Tell us out loud what jumps out at you. 50. Is it a 50? You're doing it. You're doing it. Hold it up just a little higher. Look into the ball and imagine the letters of the alphabet. If you would, Matthew, look down at the bill with your eyes. Focus on the serial number on the bill. The letters of the alphabet, it should start with a letter, an A, a B, a C, a D, an E, all the way to a Z. Look into the ball and imagine a letter. Tell us out loud what letter jumps out at you. Yeah, D. D? That's perfect. You're doing it. Hold it a little higher. Imagine the numbers, the digits from 1 to 9, any digit. Yes, slide in here. You can see it too. All the way in. Look right into the ball. We want everybody involved. See? So it starts with a D. There's a 1. First digit. Look at the digit from 1 to 9. Name the digit. 5. Is it a 5? Can you see that? That's perfect. I only empowered him. Look right into the ball. So it starts with a D. There's a 5 followed by another digit. Now, some of these are repeating digits. Is that true? So it could be the same digit. It could not be. From 1 to 9, name a digit. 5. Oh, what is it? Oh, 2 5s in a row? Oh, that's perfect. You're doing it. Hold it a little higher. Imagine the next digit. Next digit. Right. Is it a 1? It's not a 1? Wait. Oh, wait a second. Wait. It's not a. It's. Oh, wait a second. Look down at the bill for a second. Is there a 1 later on? Those count. Those count. Here, look into the ball and imagine the next digit. The next digit, if you would. Next digit. 4. Is it a 4? So wait a second. So it's actually a D, a 5, and then a 4, and then there comes a 1. That's perfect. You're doing it. You're doing it. You just had them transposed. You get a mirror image in a ball. So do me a favor. I want you to do this with us. I want you to look into the ball, and I want you to, let me empower you for just a second. I just have to empower you. Just a second. Okay. Hey, easy. Okay. Now here's the idea. Hey, Gordon. Okay. Slide it up here for just a second. I want you to look into the ball and trust your instinct. Name any digit from 1 to 9, recognizing that there are probably some repeat digits. It might be digits that have already been named. Name a digit that's already been named, any one of the digits, as you look into the ball. Just one that jumps out at you. You have to just trust your instinct. 4. Is it a 4? Now, you have no idea how you're doing this. Look, he has no idea. This is perfect. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Now, hold it up. Now, he has you honestly don't know where that came from. Is that right? But if you look into the ball and trust your instinct, now recognize that it might be a digit that's already been named. Thanks, Gordon. So it starts with a D. There's a 5, then it's followed by a 4, and then a 1 after that. And then there's another digit, but it's probably one that's already been named. Oh, no, you already did one. You did a 4. So it's a 4, a 1, and then a 4. Okay, is the next digit a different digit than has already been named? That's perfect. Name any other digit from 1 to 9, but not one that's been named. 6. Is it a 6? I'll take over from here. Thanks for helping me out, you guys. I appreciate that. Stretch it out in front of your eyes. Let me see if I can tune in to you. Picture them a letter or a digit at a time. Right there. Okay, I'm tuning in now. I see what this would have thrown anybody off. So there's a D, a 5, followed by a 4. A D, a 5, a 4, a 1, and then a 4. That was yours. And then a 3 after that. I'm with you. So there's a 4 and then a 3 followed by another digit. Is that digit a 1? And then it's followed by another 1. And is there a letter on the end? Is that letter an A? That's amazing, and I thank you all very much.
David Williamson, thank you for coming today. So nice to see you, brother. You wrote one of the forewords for the book, for the Magic Book, and I have to say it is one of my favorite things, maybe my favorite thing in the books. When I read it, I was moved actually to tears of your memory of Tim. And maybe you could start by just telling us a little bit about your memory of Tim and what you thought of him.
Well, I think if you've heard or read any testimonials about Tim from anybody, I would just have to say I concur with all of it. He was a nice guy, first of all. He was a nice person. He was a really great friend, you know, and he was very heartfelt in everything he talked to you about, you know, and you felt like, you know, he cared about what you had to say, not just what he had to say. He was one of those guys. It was a two-way street with Tim. At least with me, I felt that. But as far as his talents, you know, they were huge. I called him my nickname for Tim was the Terminator, because he wasn't there to entertain. He was there to take no prisoners and destroy brains. And that's, I think, his approach to magic, whether it was a classic or an original thing he put together. He found the most devious method. He never stopped working on the method. And then he added his incredibly unique, bubbly personality to the top. And it felt so natural to when Tim performed magic. You know, he didn't wink or nod at his cleverness. As I said, it was a very workmanlike attitude. He was there to show you some great magic and blow your mind. And that's what he did. That was his job. And that was what he delivered, you know, better than most.
Yes.
It was no fooling around. It was a straight line to dismantling your brain, but by the nicest guy you've ever met.
Right. It's an odd combination, isn't it? The sweetheart with the little voice and the smile, and then just breaking your head with the strongest magic in the world.
Yeah.
Did you have favorites of his material?
My favorite magicians were Goshman. My favorite performers were Goshman, Del Rey, and Slidini. I love those guys. And Tim seemed to be an amalgam of the best of what those three men had to offer. Because they were all characters, they were all personalities, as well as incredible thinkers and incredible technicians. But he was like the best of all of them but in a Brooks Brothers suit. You know, he didn't have stains on his tie or a funny way of talking or anything like that. He looked like a guy who was about to sell you insurance.
Do you have a specific memory of Tim you could share with us? Something interesting, a story, maybe? A Tim story?
Oh, I have so many, but I feel like Tim is still with me in some ways, because he gave me his sound system that Kerry Pollack had made, the little MP3 tech, back when we had the MP3 cassette, or not MP3, it was some little sound system. Tim, as you know,
What was that
a chain
called? Sound
smoker.
tech or...
Yeah, something like the MP3 tech or something like that. Yeah, I forget. But anyway, it had it was in a little plastic suitcase with foam in it, the foam dividers and the foam backing in that little case that hold the device. And Tim was a chain smoker, as you know. And to this day, when I open that little plastic case, it's as if Tim's in there going, because I get a big blast of Tim's cigarette smoke every time I open it. To this day, it's trapped in there. But no, I have so many memories of Tim. You know, he was had a beautiful mind, a brilliant mind, and when he grabbed on something, he didn't let go of it. a thought, an idea, a system that he wanted to dismantle. I talked a little bit about this in the introduction, but I just remember him showing me his copy of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He was trying to figure out the relationship of men and women. And he had notes scribbled on every page, in the margins and in between the chapters, notes. And he goes, I finally figured out how to talk to women. I go, really? What's the secret? He goes, when they say something, you say, how do you feel about that? And then they talk. And then you say, how does that make you feel? So he had hacked. Anyway, it just made me laugh. He made me laugh a lot. He made me laugh a lot. Tim.
No, that's great. If you were to pick one trick from the Conover books that you might actually work on, is there one?
I mean, I have worked on some of them, but I loved his version. I loved the way he did the bending coins, his bending coins routine. I always loved watching him do that. Yeah, it was
a masterpiece.
It wasn't necessarily that difficult, but the impossibility of the final moment there when he starts off with just some normal coins that people can touch and examine, and I would stand at the back of his crowds. We worked a lot of corporate shows together, and I'd stand there at the back of a giant crowd of his and just watch the people's faces, and they couldn't wrap their head around what was happening. And that was one of my favorite routines that he did.
I love that. I love that. What else do you want to say before we have to go away? We have some other things to get to here. And I know you're on a ship in Nassau, so you have limited time. Is there anything else you'd like to say about Tim while you have a moment?
I don't think we'll see his likes again anytime soon. I surely haven't. It's, I can't put my finger on what he was all about, but he made me want to be a better magician every time I watched him. Not necessarily I want to do what he did. I would go home and work harder on what I did.
Right. I love that. I had that same feeling, David.
Yeah. No, I miss him.
Amazing. Okay. I miss him too, and I miss you. We'll see you when you get back to the U.S. Okay, David, thanks very much.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about another trick from this book, which is the one, as we've been working on these books, you've always said this is the trick that everyone's going to want to do, which is the shot glass production.
Yes, I do think it'll be the most popular trick from the books as far as, as far as people adding it to their repertoires, because you can learn to do it in half an hour. I mean, it's not like terribly difficult. There's a little finessed handling, but it's not hard. It's not a card or coin trick. And it's really amazing up close or strolling or on a parlor situation or even a small stage. It's the production of the shot glass. And I think maybe I should just do it. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
So out of my pocket comes a napkin from a dinner table. And I want you to see there's absolutely nothing in my hand. Normally my sleeves would be up for this as well. And I'm going to just drape the napkin over my hand. And a spectator could come up now and feel my hand. In fact, they would find nothing because there is nothing in my hand at all. And again, a spectator would be invited to feel the top of my hand and to put their finger right here. And then I would say, make a wish, and then pick your finger up exactly 10 inches. And when they do, yes, something solid appears there, and that something is a full glass of whiskey.
That was great.
Thank you.
So when you were writing up shot glass production and all of the tricks in the book, obviously you were familiar with these tricks from your time spent with Tim.
Right.
But was there anything when you were actually writing it on a granular level that you thought, wow, this is really special?
I had that experience many times. Specifically, maybe his reconstruction of Tommy Wonder's socked coins, the sockless coins.
Love this trick.
Me too, yeah. The ending to it, where he makes the coin disappear and reappear in their hand, is, I think, a really unusual take on that kind of a moment in magic, and something I had not considered deeply before I really wrote the books. And then even more, there's a handling that leads up to it where everything you see on the table stays exactly the same visually, so the audience isn't aware of any changes, and yet you are now set up to do the sleight of hand. And well, let me just show you a little bit of that architecture.
Let's do it.
This is just the ending of Tim's version of Tommy Wonder's socked coins. We call it the sockless coins because no sock. What I wanted to sort of spotlight is this idea that Tim often put his sleight of hand in places so that it was away from when the magic happens. And the ending of this trick is a perfect example. We're about to do a copper-silver transposition in a spectator's hand, classic trick. But amazingly, I think, interestingly, we have two coins out here we're going to do the trick, and the audience can examine both of them. They are completely straight examinable coins. So you have the audience examine the first one, the copper coin here, and as they begin to examine the second one, notice you see 3 silver coins and a copper coin. I stack the 4 coins up like this. I move them just a little bit, and then I unstack them. You still see 3 silver coins and a copper coin, but now I am one ahead and ready to do the copper-silver transposition. Notice that the sleight of hand happens out here while they're doing something else, and nothing visually changes for them. It's like super interesting construction, I think. So now I have them hold out their hand, and I show them the silver dollar. They hold their hand out, and I put this in their hand. They close their hand, and they are now holding this copper coin, but they think it's a silver coin. All that's left for me to do is to clean up my dirty hand over here. So watch this. I kick this forward. The copper coin goes forward. I pick up the 3 silver coins, and I count them back down to the table like this, and my hands are once again empty. And the sleight of hand happens at a moment when nothing's happening, and again, nothing in the visual picture changes. So now I'm ready to do a miracle, and they have seen nothing happen yet. Right? The copper coin goes in my hand like this, and I reach over and I produce from their hand the silver coin. And then I put the copper coin in my hand like this, and it completely dematerializes, leaving nothing in my hand, and it goes into their hand so that now when they open their hand, they're now holding the copper. Right? Notice how different this is from the normal, I hold the silver, you hold the copper, and I go like this, and now they've changed places. Right? The effect is very different here. I make the silver coin come out of their hand, and then the copper coin just dematerializes like this and goes into their hand. And it's such a good magic moment. I've done this hundreds and hundreds of times. I can tell you this is superior, I think, in every way from the standard copper-silver with a copper-silver coin.
It was great. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
You know, as you were doing that, I was thinking it's kind of a shame that we can't show too much of Tim's material.
Right.
Like, it's one of the best memories of my life in magic is seeing that show at Magic Live where you did the bar magic and then you go into the trade show and see Tim perform.
That was the greatest close-up show ever at a Magic Convention, I thought.
Incredible.
Yes.
And Tim was our trade show magician.
Yes, and he did the bending coin routine.
Oh, he did? Amazing. That's in book 1, by the way.
Thank you. But yeah, like, where can we see Tim perform?
Oh, well, not a lot of video exists of Tim. He didn't like to be taped and didn't like to be photographed. So he had agreements when he would appear at conventions or at corporate events where they weren't allowed to film him. So there really is, it's kind of scarce. Good Tim Conover video is not, there's not a lot of it. There is some, but mostly it's been passed down and copies of old VHS, so it's kind of not great quality. However, we do have a little montage of a few things just so you can get sort of the flavor of Tim, and maybe we could look at that now.
We can.
There's some kind of a rectangular shape here. It's flexible. I'm picturing printing on top of a rectangular, like a license or a passport or something like that. Am I close? And is this birth certificate? A birth certificate? Does that make sense to you? This is your birth certificate, and I thank you very much for your help. Oh. Was that a Canadian birth certificate? Oh, good. Take your fist, hold it in between the palms of my hands, and visualize the style or the shape of the object. Now, this is not your object. Is that true? True. Somebody gave this to you temporarily. And let's see, would you hold it right in between the palms of the fist? Right there. Okay, now I'm picturing a solid object. It's opaque. You cannot see through it. In fact, it's a container. There's something inside of it. Is that true? True. But you only know what's inside of it in your mind. You haven't physically seen it and cannot see through the container. Is that true? True. Visualize the style or the shape. Now I'm picturing a soft, pliable object, clear in in some type of a liquid of some sort. Does that make sense to you? Yes, it does. In fact, this is two objects isolated from one another. There's a set of contact lenses comes to mind. What is the object? Contact lens. Exactly. Oh, that's perfect. Let me peel these off. Notice as I approach my eyes for the first time, from behind my head, never approaching my eyes. You can verify there are no broken tapes. Directly sealed against the face. Two solid 50-cent pieces remain embedded in the sockets of closed eyes. Oh, before we begin, I asked somebody to think of a name right here, printed on a card. Are you still here? Yes, I am. Oh, perfect. Take your card, or your fist, hold it in between the palms of my hands and visualize the name that you've... Oh, this is perfect. You're married. Does that make sense? You're married. Is that true? Yeah. And this is your wife's name. Is that true? It is. Visualize her name for just a second. She appreciates that. I'm picturing right there. It starts with, 5 letters involved. 5 letters involved. I'm picturing a C, an A, a T, an H, a Y. Kathy comes to mind. What is your wife's name? It's Kathy. Exactly, and I thank you very much. I've chosen 3 books right out of the bookstore. They represent a few of the ideas we all share. Megatrends, Lee Iacocca's autobiography, In Search of Excellence. I chose older books so everybody's had a chance to read them before. Some of you may have even contributed to them. And let me step out into the group. We're going to get a couple of people involved. Here, just so everybody gets a chance to play. Would you help me out? Gentlemen right here. Mark, take the book in your own hands. Open it up. Make sure all the pages are different. All the words are different. Go ahead, take it in your own hands. And we're going to try this long distance so every page is different. Every word is different. If you want to use your own books, bring your own. I'll duplicate the test exactly. Visualize the word. Help me out. Please stand. Please stand right there. I only want to use your mind. And help me out. Knowing no limits, right here at Newbridge Networks, visualize the word a letter at a time right there. There's a U and R, a B and A and N. The word is urban. Is that correct? A word in thousands. You've really stopped on a page. Please stand. Help me out. Visualize the word you chose. Picture it a letter at a time. Oh, now you started at the top of the page, then you moved to the bottom to be different. At the last second, you switched back to the top, moved one word over because it had more letters and it would make it harder on me. Is that what you were thinking? It's exactly what I would have done. Oh, you're very kind. I appreciate that. I see a W, an A, an N, a T, an E, a D. The word is wanted. Is that correct? Welcome to Newbridge Networks. Help me out, please stand. You've really stopped on a page. Interestingly enough, at random, he chose a word out of In Search of Excellence that describes Newbridge Networks since its inception, growing to be the largest manufacturer of multiplexers worldwide. I see a C, an O, an M, an M, an I, a T, and M. The word's commitment. Is that correct? A word in thousands, right out of In Search of Excellence. You see what's happening? No, this is very important. All the way in the back of the room. This is unbelievable. It happens once in a while. This gentleman right back here, very quietly saying to himself, wait a second, all these people up front are in on this, just so we're feeling it back here. Here, help me out. Please stand. We want everybody involved. Take the book in your own hands. Open it up in front of your eyes. Start at the top of the page, first line. Read it all the way through to yourself. Nope, I don't feel anything. Go to the second line down from the top. Even deeper into the text, the third line. You can count along the left margin, just to be clear. The fourth line. Even deeper into the text, the fifth line. Right there on the fifth line, I can feel that. Now scan across the fifth line down from the top. Pick a big word, a real big word that jumps right there. Not the first, the second, the third. Nope, that's too small. The fourth, the fifth. Even deeper into the line, the sixth. Oh, right there. There's the biggest word on the line. Is that true? 5 lines down from the top, 6 words in. There's a C, an H, an A, an R, an E, an S, a T. The word is characteristic. Is that correct? A word in thousands right out of the center of the page.
And now we're here with Chad Long. Chad, thanks so much for coming in.
Absolutely.
Good to see you, brother.
Of course.
I know that you know that we're talking about the Tim Conover project, and you were good friends with Tim. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how either you met Tim or some memories of Tim.
This is the Conover project. I thought this
Yes.
was Carbell 3. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. No, the Conover. But we've all been waiting for this. It's been years in the making, and we're super excited. And yeah, I met Tim many years ago, probably the late '80s or the early '90s, and I'll never forget the first time I met him. It was at a show. There were a bunch of magicians there. I think Bill Hurst put on this big event where there were like 15 magicians, and Tim was one of them. I knew everybody there except this one guy who walked up in a business suit, all serious with a briefcase.
Right.
And I'm wondering, okay, who's this? And they said, that's Tim Conover. I only had heard of him when you guys mentioned that's Tim Conover. That's the first time I ever heard the name. It turns out he was always busy working, which is why I never saw him at magic conventions and things like that. He's always doing Fortune 500 companies, even back then. I mean, that was his bread and butter. But so I saw Tim. We were all doing close up or little station areas, at the show, and Tim was probably doing a stage show plus close up. And I snuck away to watch him work for Lehman at this event, and I couldn't believe my eyes. This guy who I'd never heard of, who dressed kind of conservatively and this and that, absolutely stunned everyone. Lehman were just literally screaming, He was doing mind reading close up. He was doing incredibly hard, difficult sleight of hand close up, theater type things close up. It was just unbelievable the way he framed his effects. I was sitting there with my jaw on the floor, and I realized I was seeing greatness, to be honest with you. I know that's overused, but guess what? It's warranted in Tim's case. And I left there after the show. I texted friends, I called friends, and I say, have you ever heard of Tim Conover? They're like, no. I said, I just saw that he's the best magician, close-up magician I've ever seen in my entire life. He was that good. And the great thing about Tim is, and I know you know this, we saw it many times, is he would do a show. So the event's finished, and we'd all gather. We're all just kind of, telling our war stories for the evening and things like that. And Tim would set up a table, and somebody said, would you show us a trick? And you know what? He would do 40 minutes. He did a whole show for us.
Right.
And I never realized what a treat that was to see him do that, dozens of times, it seems like now, over the years. And he was super kind. He was very generous with his time with magicians. If you were serious about magic, then he was serious about you. That's how kind of was his little rule, And
that's a great way of saying it.
It really was true, though, and he was kind to everybody and always had a spare moment if you wanted to talk magic or theory. That's what I remember my first meeting of Tim. We became friends after that, and I saw him at lots of functions.
Did you have favorite things he used to perform?
Yeah, I liked his bill change. I don't remember what do you call that? His bill change, right?
The money.
The money.
The money.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it was incredible. He would do,
Tim actually called it the 901 because it cost $901 to make up a set of that money. He called it the 901 trick.
And that's in the 80s. What's
but
it,
yes,
112,000 now? I mean, but you know what? Yeah, the money was one of my favorites because he did it differently than everybody else, It seemed like he went from 1s to 5s to 10s to 20s to 50s, and then he would say, by the way, we're at 50s. What do you want me to change them to now? Hundreds, right? Obviously. And
that's right.
They'd say yes. And he would go, do you want the old hundreds or the new version? And people are like, I have a choice, So he would, I'd say the new, and he would change them to the new ones. You know what I mean? So, I don't know how he got all these bill changes out of, one effect, but it was incredible. So that was just a Tim touch on a classic in magic. Always taking it to the next level. His Chinese Fred Kapp's Chinese coin mystery was one of my favorites of his. That's kind of an wild card. You don't see that a lot.
Right.
And Tim was doing it way back in the day, and he did it masterfully. And I couldn't wait. I had always played with that. I had the coins for it before I even met Tim. And then when I saw him do it, I just wanted to kind of pack those up, put them in a drawer, and realize that I couldn't bother. Maybe one day when I learn his, then I'll bring it out again. But so I'm excited that's in the book because now I can actually walk through his handling of
that.
And
time to get those coins out again.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that 18 pounds of coins that he used for that routine. But which brings me on to, of course, I like all the stuff all the guys like, the bending coins, with the tuning fork and things like that. He could get an effect when there was no effect, like he would bend the coin, they'd all bend in a glass, and they'd go, now watch, they're bending the other way, and laymen would just go out of their minds. And I realized they would
Right.
They bought it. They believed it, and so he's getting mileage out of a trick that doesn't even exist, and that's how great it was. So I learned a lot from that too about remembered effect and about implied effects to them. When they believe you can do something, if you just say you're doing it the other way, they're going to believe it too because they already know you can do it the first way. But it was just thinking that I'm excited about for the books. His choreography.
I was going to ask you what if there's anything in the book specifically that you were looking forward to.
Yeah, well, the ones I named for sure. I'd like to see his work on the center tear. I did see him do that, and we all worked on center tears, but he never really took a center tear and then palmed it and grabbed a glass of water. That wasn't him. He would just rip it up, and I watched him do the center tear a bunch of times, and I never knew when he peaked it. I just I don't know what he was doing. Hell, I saw him do it with an envelope, even a center tear. And I'm sitting there watching.
Right.
I'm going, how the hell is he getting this information? We're all like going, okay, now watch close. What I mean? And he never did that. He was perfect. So I'm excited to see his center tear work as well. I saw him do coins and cylinder a million times. I immediately added that. I've seen you do it a million times. I immediately added that trick to the long list of effects I'll never do. I mean that's a life's commitment, and you guys have both put in that work for that routine, and it's great. I mean, I have cylinder and coin sets, and they look really pretty next to the books that. But I'm excited to see his choreography because you can take the choreography from tricks, even if you don't do them, and apply them to your own effects. Totally different if plots.
Yeah.
Because you think about how they put that stuff together, and you see how things build.
Yeah.
And that's how Tim did. One thing about Tim, though, and I'll leave with this pretty much, is that besides being super intense, he was down to earth. When you got him, when he was relaxed, it was funny to see Tim relax because he never was relaxed at shows. But even being super intense, he was funny. I saw him on stage before mess up a trick. He didn't mess up, but the person didn't get it. He was doing the crystal ball, Eric. Where he names all the cards and he tells gets a spectator and says, "You're going to get the last one." And he's got the card palmed or something, a little piece of it. He's saying, "Look into the crystal ball. See the gentleman's card over there. Name it for him." And the guy's going, "I don't see it." And he goes. And I'm thinking, oh God, he's human finally, And he's telling me, look through the ball. Actually, look through the ball. It was just great as he's fishing for this info. And the guy finally says, "Oh, 3 of hearts." He goes, "See, this stuff is harder than it looks, isn't it, sir?" And everything he did was infectious. He was energetic. He would jump a lot on stage, and everything they said was the right thing, because he made them feel great about themselves, He would do a book test and said, "I've got 3 business books. Some of these were probably authored by some of you in the audience." And they always laughed at that. But, he's right half the time, but things like that. He was a perfectionist in everything he did from his magic. It spilled over into his everyday life. Me and my wife were talking to him once. My wife, Charlene, we were somewhere, and Tim had just bought a boat. And he'd said that we said, she said, "Are you learning everything about it? The history?" And he goes, you laugh. He goes, "But I'm learning to tie the knot to anchor it to the dock. And I've spent the last 6 months perfecting this knot, the history of it." He had a book the size of Stuart's names on seafaring, marine knots, from ancient history. And he was learning those. And that's what Tim did. That's the way he was. And he was a sweet guy. He was a generous guy. I well up thinking about Tim, to be honest with you. How kind he was and generous with his time. He was just a fantastic magician, a fantastic person, and we lost him obviously way too soon. But I'm super excited that other magicians get to see his material, his way of thinking about magic.
Me too. No one is happier than me about these books.
I know. Well, you've had it. Yeah, if you've never heard of Tim Conover and you're a young magician, and you probably have heard of the books through Vanishing Ink and things, but if you've never actually heard of Tim before this moment, you're in for a treat. I mean, get the books. I know they're not super cheap, but guess what? You're buying a guy's life's work. The way he thought about magic.
That's right.
And it's not just a book of tricks. You guys get these. I think these are going to stand the test of time. Whether Tim was one of those rare magicians who his books are like a foundation that you can build on. His not his books, but his thinking about magic. I mean, I really think these are going to be up there. Books of wonder. The Greater Magic, Conover. I put him in that class of thinking magicians. So, I mean, you do yourself a treat, make this your Christmas present, grab these books and you will not regret it, man. I'm not even kidding you. These are just so great. I wish these were out. We all wish they were out a long time ago, Eric, but, if you know Tim or you knew Tim,
Yes.
then this is a trip down memory lane on all the tricks we saw him do live countless times. And it'd be nice to have them all in one spot, so
Right.
that's great too. But,
Okay. Yeah. Hey, Chad, thanks so much for stopping in, saying hello.
Thanks, bud.
And giving us some of your views about Tim. I really appreciate it,
Yeah,
brother.
appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for doing these. These are great.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Thanks, Chad. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, we're back, and I want to talk a little bit about the books themselves, because I'm sure at home, if you don't have these yet, you are going to want to know what's inside them. So before we get over to you and some of the things that you want to talk about regarding the production of the books, I want to give you a shout out because you've laid out all of Vanishing Ink's books. I think this is the most beautiful set we've ever done.
Oh.
And that's credit to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I must have laid out 150 books now, and this was an absolute pleasure to work with Eric and Sherry on these books. One of the key things Eric and Sherry came to us with is that they wanted the photos to be right next to the text. They wanted the photos to be big and clear, and these are exceptional photographs. It was Sherry's husband, Andi, who took
Andi
the
Rosenberg.
photos, and they look fantastic. One of the things I wanted was to have photos of Tim performing these tricks, because the hands in the photographs are Eric's, and so I wanted to get as many photos as I can of Tim in the books, and we worked very hard through many archives to find them, but we have photos of him performing every trick in the book, which I think really helps tell the story.
It's amazing, yeah.
The thing that I want to put across as somebody who edited these books and pored over every page is I really respected the approach you took in your point of view. So what you're getting when you read these books is an examination of Tim's magic, but you have also performed these tricks. You have also seen him perform these tricks. So you're giving your point of view of what it was like to process that magic, or I've also performed this for 10 years and here's what I've learned about it. And I think that's really unusual in a magic book from an author.
Thank you. I tried really hard to always give deference to Tim's point of view and Tim's work, because this is a book about Tim's magic and not about my version of Tim's magic, right? In a couple of places, I do talk about some variations that might be interesting for people to explore. I did, however, perform all but one of the tricks in these books before real audiences at least once, and 6 of them have become part of my permanent working repertoire. Performing all of them at least once gives me a kind of insight that is not, that allows me to sort of explain things about them that you wouldn't normally hear an author write about, practical things, or things about timing, or things about pace, things about relationship between this and audience. And I tried to put all of that in here without making it a book about my point of view at all. I tried to be invisible as much as I could.
I think you achieved something better than invisible, which is rare in a magic author, which is mastery. It's very clear you understand these routines inside and out, their structure, and that really comes through. So I also
I'll say one other thing.
Yeah.
I unapologetically wrote these books from an expert point of view. I think a beginner can learn a lot from them, but I think that really the people who are going to study them over and over again are people with an advanced already understanding of magic and magic architecture and magic effects and magic performance.
Certainly.
But I love that you explained everything in detail. It's not like you skip over the slides, but you explain the expert ways of doing all of the slides. It really is fantastic. And
thank you.
Compliment to you. They are some of the best written magic books I've ever read. I think they are so clear and so enjoyable to read.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I want to also talk about this beauty. So released today, in addition to the standard edition, is this deluxe edition. And this deluxe edition is made of leatherette, so the production materials are a little finer. It's limited to 500 copies that you have signed and numbered.
That's correct.
And there's a couple of other things that are included in these that aren't in the standard edition.
So let me first say why this came about. And I actually think it was Andy's idea. When we were looking at one of the things Tim was working on at the end of his life was a manuscript about his specific memorized deck. And it was in sort of not book form, like the Silver and Coins was an almost finished book. This was in notebook form, like notes to a book he was thinking about writing but hadn't actually started to write the book yet. And we said that if we wanted it to match the rest of the books, I was going to have to undertake a ground-up rewrite of this. And I really didn't want to write a memorized deck book from the ground up after doing all this other work. And it was Andy's idea, I think a really great, smart idea, to make
Doesn't sound like him, but fine.
to make an extra book that was not a polished book like the other three, but a book of Tim's notes and from Tim's notebooks. And once we decided we could do that with the memorized deck, then it was an easy jump that there was a whole bunch of other interesting things in Tim's notebooks that we had kind of said, boy, it would be nice to include that, but they don't fit anywhere. Well, now in the deluxe edition, there is this 4th volume, which has Tim's notes to a memorized deck book, and then also a bunch of other things. These, for example, are scans of 3x5 index cards that Tim carried around with him, some of them handwritten, some of them printed, with ideas for patter, ideas for different routines. There's cold reading lines, there's running orders of shows. There are his own sort of descriptions of his stage shows here. There are 3 full trade show scripts to specific clients and their needs, and the memorized deck, and it's all in this sort of notebook extra volume that only comes with the deluxe edition.
The important quandary with the memorized deck section was it is kind of an unfinished book in what we got from Tim's hard drive, and the fear was that if you had to rewrite all of this, we would be filling in some gaps ourselves because we didn't know what Tim actually meant when he started a sentence and just didn't finish it. So I think the best way we could honor the material was to actually just give what Tim had left us with. And there's enough in here for people to learn this memdeck and learn some of Tim's memdeck tricks.
That's right. If you have no understanding of memdeck, then maybe you should start somewhere else. But if you have even a basic understanding of what memorized deck is and how it works, then Tim's books are totally understandable. Mm-hmm. I will say the one interesting feature of Tim's stack, for those that like memdeck work, Tim built it from hearing about Wandstack before Mnemonica was published. And so we had heard, all of us had heard, that Wandstack could be gotten into from a new deck order, and that you could also get to a mirror stack or a Stebbins stack from his order, and then you could get back, after doing all your memorized deck work, you could get back to new deck order. So Tim set out with a deck of cards to reconstruct this, and he so happy one day when he came to us and said, I have solved it, I know Wandstack, here's what it is. And someone pointed out to Tim that, American cards come in a different new deck order than European cards. And at first Tim was bummed, like unhappy that, I didn't solve Wandstack. But then he realized, now I have my own stack completely with all of the features of Mnemonica, except it's made for American magicians who use US playing cards and that starting order. So that's the features of it. And then, of course, Tim being obsessive, compulsive, Tim thinking about memorized deck, put every kind of trick you can think of from Mnemonica, from Aronson, from Mike Close, from Nicola into his stack, and that's what these notes are. All of his work on those. Here's poker deals. Here's tricks with 4 aces. Here's tricks with
classic tricks that he figured out how to use in his stack.
That's right.
A lot of that. And tell us about this.
So you also get in the deluxe set a reproduction of Tim's main advertising brochure. I didn't realize the card was in there. His advertising brochure that he sent out for all of his corporate clients, and a reproduction of his business card as little nice touches for the deluxe edition.
Yeah, there are 500 of them available. My prediction is they won't be available for long, but they are for the real collector and the people willing to do the work on Tim's memdeck stuff, because unlike the other books, the memdeck isn't fully handed to you. You have to do some work of your own here and invest some time into the memdeck. But it's like 120 or 140 pages in that kind of range of just memdeck work. Well, this is a good day for Eric Mead, because
it's a great day for Eric Mead. Yes,
but
congratulations.
This is a better day for magic, because Tim has, in my lifetime when I got to see Tim, he inspired me perhaps more than any other magician, of how just real and good magic can look. And I bet I'm not alone with that.
He was genuinely one of the best magicians I ever knew, and probably one of the top 5 magicians in my lifetime of experience seeing magic. The best magicians that I've ever seen.
I think you're going to discover in these books not only practical material, things you'll use, but also his constant striving for perfection. What comes through in these books, and you talk about it as a through line, is he just never stopped. He never stopped tinkering. He wanted ultimate versions, and then he'd find an ultimate version and find an ultimate version of that.
Right.
And I think that that's a great lesson that transcends any of the specific material. Thank you for doing this.
Oh.
Thank you for being here with all of our viewers, and thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, that's it from us, but we couldn't leave without letting some of Tim's friends share their thoughts and their well wishes. So as a little surprise for you, Eric, we've arranged for a bunch of Tim's friends to say hi and to tell us what they think about the book. So
great.
Goodbye from all of us, but you'll get to see some great magicians telling us about Tim.
Bye, everybody.
And his books. Bye.
It was an evening I will never forget. It was the summer of 1992 at the historic Jerome Hotel in Aspen, Colorado, and an audience of Fortune 500 executives shook in their seats. Faulty folding chairs aside, the real reason for what can be only described as an incident of mass astonishment was by a guy who seemed like he just couldn't wait to step outside for a much-needed cigarette. This frenetic miracle worker was Tim Conover, who, with this particular sort of electrical energy, coupled with a charming but very direct style, absolutely blew those rich guys' minds. Before the show, I had the privilege of being introduced to Tim by my friend Eric Mead. Once the CEO shuttled away and the dust settled, it was even more of a treat to spend some time with Tim at the bar. Tim was nothing but humble, gracious, and generous, even giving me some pointers on my own magic. Now, those few minutes would influence how I think about magic for a very long time. Now, honestly, I hope no one performs this material to the letter. You'll never be able to replicate the sheer phenomenon that was Tim's performance. He was one of a kind. But rather get lost in the magic, marvel at the attention to detail, the structure, the soul behind the routines, and let his work inspire you to develop miracles of your own.
I knew of Tim Conover as being one of the best mentalists and one of the most creative performers, but I didn't realize he was such an absolute beast when it came to coin material. And then I sat in Eric Mead's basement with him, and he showed me these old videos of Tim just busting with coins, doing crazy, crazy stuff. And I said, man, Eric, if any of this material is ever out there, I want to learn it so badly. And Eric gave me that knowing wink and that smile. And yeah, it's in the books, so I cannot wait to learn, obviously, all the mentalism, but the coin stuff as well. I can't wait.
Hi, I'm John Carney, and I'm happy to have called Tim Conover my friend. Since our first meeting, I was impressed with his thinking and his technical ability. Tim always found the straight line, the most direct, simple way to accomplish an effect. Sometimes that method would require raw skill, and other times all it took was a clever, effortless subtlety. Tim knew exactly what was required in each situation. Once he locked onto a subject, Tim dove in head first. He would completely immerse himself for weeks or months until he had pared down the problem to its most straightforward solution. He understood that good sleight of hand begins with thoughtful construction. Tim's enthusiasm was contagious. I couldn't help but get excited about the things he was working on. This energy translated well to his audience, exciting and enchanting them, all the while keeping a charming, humble persona. The audience always felt like they had been fooled by a gentleman. If you love great sleight of hand and diabolical mentalism, you could do no better than to study the magic of Tim Conover.
Just wanted to share my excitement for the Tim Conover books coming out in just a few short weeks, days. Maybe they're out right now as you're watching this. I never got a chance to meet Tim, and I never got a chance to see him perform. So this is the way that I feel like I can connect with the man, the myth, the legend, and all of his incredible creations. So if you don't have these books on pre-order or order, what are you doing? Dive into one of the greatest magicians who's ever lived. That's what I'll be doing once these arrive.
How you doing? Well, for those of you who happen to have read my book, you might recall that back when my son was ready to be bar mitzvahed, I decided I wanted to hire a professional entertainer. I was a full-time entertainer back then, and I knew all the top people. There was only one person I asked to do the gig. Tim Conover, I can tell you, he did the gig, and I can tell you that decades later, I'm talking decades later, people still remember the things Tim did that day. I can also tell you, because I got to know Tim somewhat, when it came to inventing or perfecting or performing magic or mentalism, there was no one else like Tim. And I mean that in the best possible way.
Hi, it's Bill Hers. I am so excited about the new Conover books that are coming out. Tim was a really close friend. I spent hours with him, and I can't remember a better magician. He worked, thought, ate. Everything was magic, magic, magic. The joke we always had about Tim was he'd call us in the middle of the night and say, I got the alphabet down to 5 letters, because he always wanted to eliminate moves. He was an amazing performer, amazing person, and these books are going to be incredible.
Hi everybody, Bill Malone here. 2 things. Number 1, I'm glad to be in the house, because the last few years I've been waiting out at the mailbox for the Tim Conover books to come out. And hooray, they're being released. These books are going to be on everybody's bookshelf. And what I mean by that, anyone that loves magic, loves sleight of hand, loves great presentations, whether it's magic or mind reading, you are in for a special treat. Tim Conover was one of the best magicians of my lifetime. I've never seen better magic. Every time Tim showed me anything, it was done perfectly.
My dear friend, the late great Tim Conover, was one of the greatest magicians I'd ever seen in my life, and he has entrusted Eric Mead to put all of the details of the amazing innovations and thoughts and secrets and methods of Tim Conover. He stands for a particular area of magic, and that is the relentless pursuit of method. There is no character, no thought leader in the art of magic that I know who has a more intensity than Tim Conover had.
So there are very many reasons to be excited for Tim's books, not least of which the fact that they've been written by an expert performer themselves who've really taken the time to understand these routines on a very deep level. Sometimes Eric has actually taken the time to perfect and perform these routines for years, and that insight is going to really pay off, I think, in these books. But more importantly, Tim was a master of construction and had a real insight in how to create really practical methods that could be used in the real world to create absolute miracles. I remember being with him once, and I showed him my handling for a classic routine that it was good and he really liked it, but there was one moment that I couldn't quite figure out the solution. And he said, "Why don't you just do this?" And that experience he had, that insight in how to construct the perfect solution, those few words solved everything. And every single trick that he had that hallmark stamped into it. When I first met him, I was lucky enough to see all of his classic routines in one evening performed just for me. So am I excited about these books? I really am, and you should be too.
This is a little friend of my friend Tim Conover. I knew Tim Conover for 30 years. He was one of the greatest magicians I'd ever known. Period. Full stop. He was an extraordinary, legendary in his time, to those who knew him, sleight of hand artist with an amazing range and an incredible ability to transform classic material and make it better. His ability to think about method and construction was unparalleled. He was the only man I ever knew who could take material from geniuses and make it better. And then when he expanded beyond close-up magic and became one of the early mentalists who were making that move at that time, he was an innovator in mentalism and one of the greatest working mentalists of his time. He was an immensely successful professional performer, and his name was spoken in hushed tones among those of us who knew him. And now, Eric Mead, his longtime friend and colleague, has gathered all of Tim Conover's extraordinary work: coin magic, card magic, general close-up magic, the cups and balls, and his virtually entire stage mentalism program. All extraordinary working material that professionals are going to jump on. It's all collected. It's all been carefully recorded, carefully refined in their description, and recorded and curated to preserve his remarkable legacy for all of magic, now and forever. Tim Conover was truly an extraordinary artist, and these books are going to be, without doubt, the most significant published works of magic that we have seen in the last 25 years. And you want to, as the saying goes, run, not walk, and grab your copies and immerse yourself in the mind and the art and the craft of my extraordinary friend, Tim Conover.